You have learned to speak English but are worried that the pronunciation is not yet correct. Then listen to this story of mine. My journey to speaking English easily. When I was younger, I always wanted to speak English fluently, but every time I tried, I felt nervous. I made mistakes and people laughed. That made me afraid to speak. One day, I met an old man in my village. He spoke English very well. I asked him, "How can I learn English easily?" He smiled and said, "Speak every day. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Listen to English, read English, and talk to yourself in English." I followed his advice. First, I started watching English movies with subtitles. I listened to English songs and repeated the words. Then, I practiced speaking in front of a mirror. I even spoke to my pet dog in English. At first, I still made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I joined an English-speaking group in my town. We talked about simple things: food, family, the weather. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. One day, I had to talk to a foreign tourist who was lost. He asked for directions. I took a deep breath and spoke in English. He understood me. I felt so proud. Now I speak English easily. It's not perfect, but I am not afraid anymore. I learned that the secret is practice and confidence. Mistakes don't matter. What matters is trying. And that's how I learned to speak English the easy way. After that day, when I helped the lost tourist, I felt even more motivated to improve my English. I realized that English was not just a school subject. It was a way to connect with the world. I decided to take my learning to the next level. I started keeping a small notebook. Every day, I wrote 5 new English words and their meanings. I also tried to use those words in my daily conversations. Some words were difficult, but I didn't give up. One evening, I was at the market when I saw a group of tourists struggling to order food. I walked up to them and said, "Do you need help?" They smiled and nodded. I helped them order their food, and they thanked me. One of them said, "Your English is very good." That moment gave me so much confidence. I realized that speaking English was not about being perfect. It was about being understood. Over time, I made more friends who spoke English. We practiced together, and they corrected my mistakes kindly. I also started reading simple English books and writing short stories. Slowly, I saw a big improvement. One day, my school announced a public speaking competition. The topic was the importance of learning English. At first, I was scared, but then I remembered the old man's words. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Speak every day. One day, my English teacher gave me a special challenge. She said, "If you really want to improve, try thinking in English." At first, it sounded strange. How could I think in English when my mind always used my native language? But I decided to try. When I woke up in the morning, I said to myself, "I will get ready now." When I ate breakfast, I thought, "This tea is hot." Slowly, I started thinking in English, even for simple things. Something amazing happened. I began speaking more naturally. I no longer had to translate words in my head. English started to feel easy. A big opportunity. One day, my school announced an essay competition. The winner would get a chance to attend an international youth conference. I was excited, but also nervous. Could I really compete with students from other schools? I remembered everything I had learned: practice, confidence, and never being afraid of mistakes. So I wrote an essay about how learning English changed my life. I checked my grammar, improved my sentences, and finally submitted it. A few weeks later, my teacher called my name in class. I had won. I couldn't believe it. Because of English, I was going to represent my school at a big event. At the conference, I met students from different countries. We spoke in English, shared our cultures, and became friends. For the first time, I felt like a true global citizen. The future is bright now. I no longer feel nervous when speaking English. I read books, watch English videos, and continue to practice every day. I have a dream to travel the world, meet new people, and maybe even teach others how to learn English easily. Whenever someone asks me how I learned, I smile and say, it's simple. Just start. Speak every day. Make mistakes. Learn from them. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. And that's how I made English easy for myself. My journey to speaking English easily. Part 5. After attending the International Youth Conference, my life changed in ways I never imagined. Speaking English was no longer just about learning a language. It became my key to new opportunities, friendships, and experiences. A new challenge. One day, my teacher introduced me to an online debate competition. Students from different countries would discuss important topics in English. She said, you should try it. This will help you improve even more. At first, I hesitated. Debating in English? That sounded difficult. But then I remembered my journey. I had already overcome my fear of speaking. This was just another step forward. I practiced hard, learning how to express my ideas clearly. I watched English debates online and noted how speakers used words confidently. When the competition day came, I took a deep breath and spoke with courage. To my surprise, I made it to the final round. Though I didn't win, I learned something valuable. English is not about knowing every word. It's about expressing yourself with confidence. Helping others learn English. One day, a younger student in my school came to me and said, I want to speak English like you, but I'm scared. I smiled and told him my secret. Just start. Speak, listen, and practice every day. I decided to help him and other students by starting a small English speaking club. Every week, we met to practice speaking, play word games, and share stories in English. Slowly, I saw them improve, just like I had. Seeing their confidence grow made me happy. I realized that English was not just helping me, it was helping others too. A dream for the future. Now, I dream of studying in an English-speaking country. I want to travel, meet more people, and learn about different cultures. I believe that because of my journey, I can do it. Every day, I remind myself, I started as a shy learner. Now, I am a confident speaker. And if I can do it, anyone can. So to everyone who wants to learn English easily, I say, speak without fear. Make mistakes, but never stop. Surround yourself with English. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. Because one day, like me, you will look back and say, English is easy. My journey to speaking English. Easily, Part 6. As my confidence in English grew, new opportunities kept coming my way. But the biggest challenge was yet to come, giving a speech in front of a huge audience. My first big speech. One day, my teacher called me and said, there is an event next month where students will give speeches in English. I want you to participate. I was excited but also nervous. Speaking to a few people was easy now, but standing in front of hundreds, that was different. I chose my topic. How learning English changed my life. Every day I practiced in front of the mirror. I recorded myself speaking and listened to my mistakes. I also watched TED Talks and observed how great speakers used hand gestures and voice expressions. On the day of the event, my hands were shaking. But I reminded myself, I have come this far. I can do this. I stepped onto the stage, took a deep breath, and began speaking. As I talked about my journey, my struggles, my practice, my small victories, I saw people nodding and smiling. Some were even taking notes. When I finished, the audience clapped loudly. I had done it. That moment proved to me that I had truly learned to speak English easily. An unexpected invitation. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. A local radio station invited me for an interview. They had heard about my speech and wanted me to share my story with listeners. I was shocked. Me? On the radio? Speaking English? But I accepted. During the interview, the host asked, "What advice would you give to people struggling to learn English?" I smiled and said, "Just start. Speak without fear. Make mistakes, but never stop. Surround yourself with English. And most importantly, enjoy the process." After the interview aired, many people sent messages saying my story inspired them. Some even asked if I could help them practice English. The journey never ends now. I believe that English is more than just a language. It's a bridge to the world. It has given me confidence, friendships, and opportunities I never imagined. I still practice every day, learning new words, reading books, and watching English content. My journey is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. And if you ever feel like English is difficult, remember, I was once a shy learner too. But if I can do it, so can you. Just start. My journey to speaking English easily, Part 7. After my radio interview, something surprising happened. People started recognizing me. Some students in my school came up to me and said, "We heard you on the radio. Your story inspired us to start speaking English too." That made me so happy. I realized that my journey was not just about me anymore. It was about helping others believe in themselves too. Teaching others. One day, a local community center invited me to hold an English workshop for young learners. I was not a teacher, but I knew how to make learning fun. So I prepared simple speaking exercises, word games, and conversation activities. At first, some students were shy, just like I used to be. But I told them, don't worry about mistakes, just speak. Slowly, they started talking, laughing, and learning. Seeing them improve reminded me of my own journey. That's when I knew. I didn't just want to learn English, I wanted to teach it too. A life-changing opportunity. A few months later, something amazing happened. I received an email from an international youth program that helps young leaders improve their skills. They invited me to attend a workshop in another country. I couldn't believe it. Traveling to a new country, meeting people from around the world, speaking English on an international stage. I was nervous, but I remembered my own advice. Just start. Speak without fear. So I accepted the invitation. When I arrived, I met students from different countries. Some from the USA, others from Europe, Asia, and Africa. English was the language that connected all of us. During the workshop, I shared my story. I told them how I once struggled, how I practiced, and how English changed my life. To my surprise, many of them felt the same way. That week, I made new friends, learned about different cultures, and even gave another speech, this time on an international stage. Looking ahead. Now, I know that learning English is not just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about connection, confidence, and courage. My journey is far from over. I dream of becoming a motivational speaker and helping more people learn English the easy way. Maybe one day I will write a book about my experience. And if you are still wondering how to learn English easily, remember my words. Start today. Speak every day. Make mistakes, but never stop. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. Because one day, just like me, you will look back and realize that English is not difficult. It's the key to your future. My journey to speaking English easily. Part 8. After attending the International Youth Program, I felt like a completely different person. The shy student who was once afraid to speak English had now given speeches, made international friends, and even taught others how to learn English easily. But my journey didn't stop there. In fact, it was only the beginning of something bigger. A new dream one evening. As I sat down to reflect on everything that had happened, a thought came to my mind. What if I start a YouTube channel to help others learn English? I had already helped people in my school and community, but with the internet, I could reach thousands, maybe even millions of learners across the world. The idea excited me, but at the same time, I felt nervous. Would people listen to me? What if I made mistakes? Then I remembered the most important lesson from my journey. Mistakes don't matter. What matters is trying. So, I took my phone, recorded a short video, and uploaded it. It was a simple introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Your Name, and today I want to share how I learned to speak English easily. At first, only a few people watched, but slowly my video started reaching more learners. People left comments saying, "This is so helpful. Thank you." Some even asked me for tips on pronunciation and confidence. That's when I knew I was making a difference. Facing challenges. Of course, the journey wasn't always easy. Sometimes I felt discouraged. Would my English ever be perfect? Would I ever be as good as native speakers? But then I realized perfection is not the goal. Communication is. I remembered my first day of speaking English. Back then I was scared, but I kept going. And now, here I was, helping others on their journey. I kept making videos, sharing tips, and encouraging others to just start speaking. And as I helped them, my English improved even more. A surprise invitation. One day, I received an email from a famous English learning platform. They had seen my videos and wanted me to join a live event to share my story. I couldn't believe it. Me, speaking at a global event? The event day arrived, and I spoke in front of thousands of online viewers. I shared my journey, my struggles, and my message. Anyone can learn English. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. After the event, messages poured in from people around the world. Some said my story inspired them to finally speak English without fear. Others asked if I could mentor them. At that moment, I realized something important. Speaking English had changed my life, but now it was helping me change the lives of others. The journey continues. Now I have bigger dreams. I want to write a book about my English journey, travel to different countries and give motivational speeches, create a free English learning program for students who need help. And most importantly, I want to continue learning and growing every single day. So, if you are reading this and wondering, can I really learn English? The answer is yes. Just start, speak, make mistakes, learn from them, and never give up. Because one day, like me, you will look back and realize English is not just a language, it's a door to endless opportunities. My journey to speaking English easily, Part 9. After the global event where I shared my story, my confidence reached a new level. I had spoken in front of thousands of people and my message had inspired learners from different parts of the world. But I knew that this was just the beginning. An unexpected offer. One evening, I received an email from an English language institute. They had seen my journey online and wanted to invite me as a guest speaker for their students. At first, I couldn't believe it. Just a few years ago, I was the one struggling to learn English. And now, a language institute wanted me to teach and motivate their students. I accepted the invitation, and on the day of the event, I walked into a classroom full of eager learners. As I spoke about my journey, I could see the excitement in their eyes. Many of them had the same fears I once had: fear of making mistakes, fear of speaking in front of others, and fear of being judged. So I told them, I was just like you. I was afraid too. But I started speaking every day. I made mistakes, but I learned from them. And that's why I'm standing here today. At the end of the session, some students came up to me and said, "You gave us hope. We will start speaking from today." That was the moment I knew this was my true calling. I didn't just want to learn English. I wanted to help others believe in themselves just like I had learned to believe in myself. A life-changing journey. As time passed, I continued growing. I Started an online course to teach English in a simple way. Wrote articles about my experiences and shared them online. Connected with English learners from all over the world. And then something incredible happened. I was invited to an international TEDx event to give a speech about my journey. I still remember standing on that stage, looking at the crowd, and taking a deep breath. I smiled and began. Years ago, I was afraid to speak English, but one day I made a decision to stop being afraid and just start speaking. And that decision changed my life forever. After my speech, the audience gave me a standing ovation. People came up to me, telling me how inspired they were. Some even said, "I will start my English journey today because of you." That was when I knew this was more than just my story. This was a movement. Looking to the future now, I dream of traveling to different countries to teach and inspire more learners, publishing a book about my journey, hosting workshops and public speaking events for English learners, and most importantly, I want to remind everyone that learning English is not about being perfect. It's about trying, making mistakes, and never giving up. So if you're reading this wondering if you can ever speak English fluently, yes, you can. Start today. Speak every day. Trust yourself. And remember, your journey is just beginning. My journey to speaking English easily. Part 10. After my TEDx speech, my journey took a completely new direction. What started as a personal goal, learning to speak English, had now turned into a mission to inspire and help others. But life had even more surprises waiting for me. An invitation to teach abroad. One day, I received an email that left me speechless. A language academy in another country had seen my story online and wanted me to join them as a guest instructor. I couldn't believe it. Me? Teaching English in another country? The academy was in an English-speaking country, and they wanted me to share my unique learning techniques with students who were struggling with confidence. I had always dreamed of traveling, and this was the perfect opportunity. So I packed my bags, got my passport ready, and soon I was on a plane, flying toward a new adventure, experiencing a new culture. When I arrived, everything felt different. New people, new places, and a completely English-speaking environment. At first, I felt a little nervous. Would my English be good enough to teach here? But as soon as I stepped into the classroom and saw the students, I remembered one thing. I wasn't perfect, but I was experienced. I started my lessons with a simple question. Who here is afraid to speak English? Almost everyone raised their hand. I smiled and said, "That's exactly how I felt when I started. But today I'm going to show you how to speak English easily, just like I did." Instead of focusing only on grammar and textbooks, I encourage them to speak every day, think in English, and not be afraid of mistakes. Slowly, I saw their confidence grow. By the end of my time there, students who were once too shy to say a word were now having full conversations in English. It was an amazing feeling. I realized that teaching was not just about giving lessons, it was about changing lives. A new dream, becoming a global speaker. After returning home, I knew I couldn't stop here. I wanted to take my message to the world. So I started giving online workshops for English learners from different countries, speaking at international conferences about language learning and confidence, writing my first book about my journey and tips for learning English easily. Every day, my dream was growing bigger. One day, I received a special invitation. I was asked to speak at the United Nations Youth Forum. This was the biggest stage I had ever dreamed of. Leaders, educators, and students from all over the world would be there, and I would stand on that stage, telling my story in English, the speech that changed everything. Standing in front of a global audience, I felt the same nervousness I had felt during my first English conversation. But this time, I knew something important. It's not about being perfect. It's about believing in yourself. I took a deep breath and spoke. Years ago, I was afraid to speak English, but one decision changed my life. I decided to start. I made mistakes, I learned, and now I'm here. If I can do it, anyone can. When I finished, the entire hall stood up and clapped. At that moment, I knew. English had given me a voice, and now I was using it to inspire the world. What's next? Now I am working on my next goals, publishing my book about learning English easily, hosting live events around the world, starting a global English speaking community. And most importantly, I want to remind you, you don't have to be perfect to speak English. Start today. Speak a little every day. Believe in yourself and amazing things will happen. Because one day, just like me, you will look back and realize English is not just a language, it's a key to a whole new world.